Just for recapitulation, this is the ovary, and at 14th day of the menstrual cycle, 14th day of the menstrual cycle, the Graafian follicle ruptures and comes in the abdominal cavity. And then by transcoelomic migration, it is received by the fallopian tube. The fallopian tube has got 4 parts: infundibulum, ampulla, isthmus, and intramural part. So, ova is come here, and ultimately fallopian tube is lined by the ciliated columnar epithelium. By their movement, they ultimately the ova comes in the ampulla and wait for 24 to 36 hours for fertilization to take place or not. And if at that period the intercourse takes place, spermatozoa or semen is deposited in the vagina. Millions and millions of spermatozoa. Usual range is about 20 to 200 million per ml. 20. So if there is a 3 cc of semen are deposited, you can imagine how many millions are deposited in the vagina. There are 60 to 200 million spermatozoa deposited here, but only 1% of it reached to the cervix. 1% of the deposited semen is spermatozoa are reached the cervix. Other are destroyed here, cannot move, so it is cervix. And you know, for movement, semen must liquefy. Spermatozoa, for the movement of spermatozoa, semen must be liquefied. And in this semen, there is a fibrinolysin, an enzyme is present which liquefies the semen. So spermatozoa move, and this movement is aided by 2 hormones, prostaglandin and oxytocin. Prostaglandin is present in the semen, and oxytocin is found in the blood of the mother during stimulation of the sexual intercourse. So oxytocin and prostaglandin causing contraction of the uterus, so there is a negative pressure and semen moves, spermatozoa moves, and also aided by some ciliary movements of the tail, some flagellated movements of the tails, it moves. Either this or this, both this, it moves, and ultimately the spermatozoa reach the ampulla of the fallopian tube. Out of millions of spermatozoa, only 300 to 500 spermatozoa can reach the ampulla. 10 lakhs mean 1 million. So imagine only 300 to 500 spermatozoa are arrived in the ampulla, out of which 1 will succeed to fertilize the ovum. Why? Because there are so many things happen. First, during this movement, the coats of the glycoprotein coats of the head of the spermatozoa are removed, and it is known as the capacitation. Capacitation is essential. Number 2, when it reaches the ampulla, so 3 things again: approximation of the gametes, gametes means mature spermatozoa and ovum. Number 2, contact and fusion of the gametes. Number 3, post-fertilization effect. The effect of fertilization. Three things happen. Approximation of the gametes occurred by, I have already told you, the spermatozoa comes here, contraction of the uterus, and also by the chemotaxic factor. And already you know, the ovum has got a nucleus with a 22 plus X chromosome and some granules, which you will call the cortical granules, in the cytoplasm of the ovum, which contains lysozymes, some enzymes. Very important thing. This ovum membrane we call the vitelline membrane. Outside there is an perivitelline space where there is an polar body is situated, one polar body is situated. And outside this perivitelline space, there is an Zona Pellucida which contains receptor. We call ZP receptor 1, 2, 3, etc. Zona Pellucida. And outside the Zona Pellucida, there is Corona Radiata cells, which produce barrier to fertilization. So three barriers has to cross the spermatozoa, and spermatozoa reach here. Multi 300 to 500 spermatozoa reach here. When the spermatozoas, initially there is a glycoprotein which are removed. Now when it touches the corona radiata, when the spermatozoa head touches the corona radiata cells, a reaction occurs. It is known as the acrosomal reaction, known as the phase 1 or acrosomal reaction. Acrosomal reaction. What is it? Acrosome is nothing but the Golgi bodies. Golgi bodies has got a membrane. This membrane and the plasma membrane of the spermatozoa head in few points touches in few points. It touch koreche, ekhantaয় touch koreche, ekhantaয় touch koreche. And already you know that Golgi bodies contains some enzymes which is prepared, so which within the Golgi bodies some enzymes are present. So when it touches this point, this area are perforated, dissolved, gole jaye, gal jata hai, and that points. So the enzymes present within the acrosome are released here. So enzymes present within the acrosome are released here. What are the enzymes? Mainly high allurinidase, acrosin, acid phosphatase, etc. These are the enzymes which are present in the acrosome, now liberated outside. This high allurinidase disintegrates, মানে টুকরে টুকরে করে দেয়, disintegrates the corona radiata cells, dissolves the corona radiata cell and disintegrates, so that it moves and all the sperm. And why the 300 and 500 sperms are required? Suppose if only one sperm, high hyaluronidase quantity is very minimum. Very minimum. So, when the hyaluronidase of all the 300 and 500 spermatozoa are released, they dissolve the corona radiata. So that 300 to 500 are required. Out of it, one sperm is very lucky. Lucky one touches this Zona Pellucida. Others are still slow in appearance. Try to touch the Zona Pellucida, but one will succeed very fast. And as it succeeds, as it touches, there occurs another reaction, where there are receptors, and I have already receptors are nothing but a lock and has got a ligand which can feed the lock. So, and in the cytoplasmic membrane, there are some ligand and there is a receptor. I have already told you, these are ZP1, ZP2, ZP3 receptor. Mainly, it binds with the ZP2 receptor. ZP2 receptor, right? Come on. And at that point, some chemical reaction occur. Details are not dorkar nei. L-lecithin and some carbohydrate receptor occurs. Ultimately, it dissolves the, particularly make a hole, not dissolves, make a hole in the Zona Pellucida. So that cytoplasmic membrane of the sperm now touches the Vitaline membrane or cytoplasmic membrane of the ovum. But others region, Zona Pellucida are present. Just make a hole, very small hole, by binding with the ZP3 receptor. As it touches the cytoplasmic membrane, another reaction takes place, a very important reaction. And number of events occur within seconds, very in a order and significantly. First, when it touches, it causes calcium wave. Some calcium goes inside and produce which is known as the calcium wave, which makes, number one, completion of the meiosis 2 first. Ovum is already in the meiosis 2, arrested in the metaphase phase. Agei bolechilam. Now, as the calcium wave occurs, meiosis 2 is completed. And another polar body is excluded and come into the perivitaline space. So, there are now two polar bodies. The first polar body may or may not divide. The first polar body যেটা হয়েছিল সেটা may divide, তাহলে তিনটে polar body হবে, যদি divide না করে দুটো polar body থেকে যাবে. If first polar body divides, when the first polar body comes? At the time of ovulation. Come on. So, if first polar body divides, then there will be 2 plus 1, that is now formed 3. If first polar body sometimes not divide, so there may be 2 polar body, whatever it may be. So, first calcium wave, completion of the second meiotic division. So, total meiosis is now complete. Now, this calcium wave dissolves the cytoplasmic membrane of the sperm, and only the nucleus of the sperm can gain entry, and according to some, tail can gain entry. So, nucleus and tail can gain entry into the cytoplasm of the ovum. The middle piece, mitochondria, disintegrated, dissolved, destroyed of the spermatozoa. So mitochondria present in our body is always derived from mother. So this nucleus, spermatozoa nucleus goes inside. If tails also goes inside, it also disintegrates within the cytoplasm of the ovum. Now, it has got 22 plus X chromosome. It is also 22 plus X chromosome. Ultimately, these two nuclei are swollen and we call pronucleus. Male pronucleus and female pronucleus. Right? Female pronucleus and male pronucleus, and they get their nuclear membrane also gets dissolved, nuclear membrane sore jay, only chromosome appear korlo and ultimately they get fused. 22 plus X equal to X or Y. In male, 22 plus X or 22 plus Y, depending upon the spermatozoa. So 22 plus X plus 22 plus X oblique Y means 44 plus XX or 44XY. Restoration of the diploid number. Human chromosome restore korlo. 2 নম্বর effect হলো যে XX আর XY হয়ে গেল, মেল অ্যান্ড ফিমেল ডিটারমিন, ক্রোমোজোমাল মেল অ্যান্ড ফিমেল ডিটারমিন্ড হলো। আমাদের দু রকম সেক্স আছে, জেনেটিক্যাল সেক্স আর ফেনোটাইপিক সেক্স বা মরফোলজিক্যাল সেক্স। যতক্ষণ না ওভারি বা টেস্টিস ডিফারেন্সিয়েট করছে, when the ovary and testis are different, we cannot say morphological sex. But chromosomal sex or genetic sex is determined at the time of fertilization. Number 4, this calcium weight triggers already যখনই হচ্ছে এর যে ক্রোমোজোম, মেল ক্রোমোজোম and female chromosome replicates their DNA and ready for mitosis, and mitosis occurs after 24 to 30 hours after fusion of the gametes nucleus. And this mitosis within the Zona Pellucida, where the cells become smaller than the mother cell, we call cleavage. This division we call cleavage. So these are the effects of fertilization. What are the effects of fertilization? Number 1, restoration of the diploid number. Number 2, genetical sex are determined, chromosomal sex are determined. Number 2, initiation of the cleavage. Eta hoye gelo and fertilization ends. এরপরে এবার কোথায় হলো এটা? ampulla of the fallopian tube. এরপরে 3 things are going side by side. One is, so restoration হলো, 3 number কি হবে? Number 1, cleavage and development of the embryo. এই এবং এটাকে আমরা কি বলছি? জাইগোট। এটা বলতে ভুলে গেলাম। It is called zygote. So ultimately development of the zygote to gradually to form the embryo and other. Number 2, movement of the zygote and subsequent blastocyst etc. towards the body of the uterus. এই যে zygote হলো, it will remain not present here. It will gradually move and ultimately reach the body of the uterus. Third thing, there occur changes of the uterine body, uterus and cervix. এটা বলার আগে আমি একটু দেখেন। So I have already told you, it has got a uterus, mainly body, I will claim a body. This body has got a 3 layer. Grossly there are 3 layers in the body. inner side, and this is the cavity যেখানে uterus, any hollow tube, this is called the cavity. In any hollow structure, this hollow area we call the cavity, but lumen. Medically we call cavity or lumen. So this is the lumen. This is the uterine body lumen, and there are three strata. The inner, and we call from this outer side we call outer. This is called the towards the lumen we call the inner, and in between we call the intermediate layer. Inner lumen we call the endometrium. Intermediate or middle lumen we call the myometrium, containing muscles, and outer lumen containing fibrous tissue we call perimetrium. Right? Gallo. Next. So endometrium, myometrium, perimetrium. Next. In the endometrium, there are again three layers. In the endometrium, again there are three sublayers. Outer, by inner থেকে বলছি, stratum, this layer, stratum compactum. Next, middle layer, stratum spongiosum, and towards the এখানে myometrium রয়েছে, myometrium, and this layer we call the stratum basalis. আমরা যদি তিনটে লেয়ার বলি, এটা যদি এন্ডোমেট্রিয়াম হয়, স্ট্র্যাটাম কম্প্যাক্টাম, স্ট্র্যাটাম স্পঞ্জিওসাম, স্ট্র্যাটাম বেসালিস, তারপরে রয়েছে মায়োমেট্রিয়াম, তারপরে রয়েছে পেরিমেট্রিয়াম। এই তিনটে মিলে হচ্ছে স্ট্র্যাটাম কম্প্যাক্টাম। And each menstrual cycle, the stratum compactum and stratum basalis, stratum spongiosum shed মানে কি পড়ে যায়। প্রত্যেকটা menstruation-এ যে menstrual blood থাকে তার মধ্যে not only blood, pieces of stratum compactum এবং stratum spongiosum ও থাকে। But stratum basalis never shed মানে খসে যাওয়া। বলি না, the leaves are shedding. So in each menstruation, at the menstrual period, when the menstruation occurs, the stratum compactum and stratum spongiosum shed, but the stratum basalis remain as it is. And this is the one word. Stratum compactum has got a lining epithelium. ছেড়ে দাও। Next, the most important, যেটার জন্য বলছি, there are two things are present in the endometrium. One is the glands, one is the blood vessels. The uterus is supplied by some arteries, uterine artery and ovarian artery, whatever it may be. This artery comes to the myometrium and gives a horizontal, divides into number of branches we call the arcuate arteries. ছেড়ে দাও, এত ডিটেলস এখন জানার দরকার নেই। From the arcuate arteries, this is the arcuate arteries. This is the branches of the uterine artery. They divide right and left and anastomose with each other to form a chain of arterial circle we call arcuate arteries. From the arcuate arteries, some straight branches goes towards the endometrium. We call straight artery. And from the straight arteries, some branches goes inside the stratum compactum and stratum spongiosum. These are tortuous in nature. Whenever anything like a spring, we call tortuous or spiral. So these branches of the straight artery we call the spiral arteries. তাহলে আবার রিপিট করছি, straight artery and spiral artery. Spiral artery where it is present in the stratum compactum and stratum spongiosum, মানে towards the lumen, right? গেল। Next, এই যে uterine vessels, and this is the straight artery, this is the arcuate artery. Plus, there are some glands. Already you know the glands, we call the uterine glands. Right? These are the uterine glands. These are the lumen of the glands lined by the epithelium. These are the uterine glands present in the stratum compactum and stratum spongiosum. Next. 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 But, okay. Now, the menstruation occurs. And I have already told you, when the first day of bleeding occurs, we call day 1 of the menstruation, right? Day 1 of the menstruation. Next we count day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, day 6, day 7, day 8, day 9, 10 up to 28 days. Which is, here month is 28 days, lunar month, right? In the day 0, the menstruation occurs. Day 1, so the stratum compactum and stratum spongiosum are shed. As it is shed, destroyed, the blood vessels, lumen are open, so bleeding occurs. So blood with its shreds of compactum spongiosum comes out through the vaginal orifice, we call it menstruation. Day 2 menstruation, day 3 menstruation, day 4, usually day 5, 4 to 5 days thake, then the menstruation stops. And within this stop, the stratum compactum and stratum spongiosum are shed away. But stratum basilis are present. After that, the regeneration takes place. Again, stratum compactum and stratum spongiosum grow. And it grows up to the next menstruation. Right? So, there are some cyclical changes occur, and we call it menstrual cycle. So, menstrual cycle again divided into 2 parts. Number 1, proliferative phase and secretory phase. In between proliferative and secretory, there occurs ovulation. Day 0 to day 5, the menstruation occurred. Previously, we call it, it is a menstrual phase, another phase. But recently, we introduced this menstrual phase within the proliferative phase or follicular phase. Another name of this proliferative phase, better term is the follicular phase. Follicular phase. Phase, one hoche part. Follicular phase. Why it is called follicular phase? Because their development depends upon the maturation of the follicle. Sei je ovarian follicle bolechilam, primary follicle, secondary follicle, tertiary follicle. These follicle, what is present? Present within this primary oocyte, and outside is the granulosa cells. These granulosa cells secrete estrogen. This estrogen stimulates this uterus to grow. Right? Though this this development of follicle again is dependent upon the another hormone, follicle stimulating hormone from the pituitary. Whatever it may be. So we call it follicular phase. Previously, menstrual phase, follicular phase, proliferative phase, and secretory phase. Amra bolchilam. Ekhon amra boli follicular phase, and next phase is the luteal phase. Tale first 5 days menstrual phase chole gelo. Next, there is a gradually development of the uterine stratum compactum and stratum spongiosum. Gradually it develops by the stimulation from the ovarian follicle up to 14, usually 14th day. 14th day ovulation occurs. So, why ovulation occurs? Due to at that time, just before ovulation, there is an increased secretion from the pituitary, the luteinizing hormone. We call it LH surge. luteinizing hormone sudden যখন rise হয় তাকে আমরা বলি surge. When there is a sudden rise, we call surge. So due to this luteinizing hormone surge, ovulation occurs. So ova mature and it is become corpus, and the ovarian follicle become corpus hemorrhagicum, then it is become corpus luteum, and there changes occur in the granulosa as well as theca cells. What changes? It becomes luteal cell, and it secretes mainly progesterone and few estrogen and some estrogen, mainly progesterone. This progesterone then helps this uterine endometrium to develop very thick, spongy, and here the spiral arteries become more spiral, glands become more spiral, corkscrew shaped gland hoye jay. We call secretory endometrium. Why? And also the cells, stromal cells become very much swollen, blood vessels increases. Why? To receive the baby. In each menstruation, always we try, there will be baby, but it doesn't happen. But the uterus always trying. So, stratum compactum, stratum spongiosum becomes swollen, decidual, the cells are swollen, full of nutrient material. The glands, the arteries known as the spiral arteries are more spiral, more blood coming out, glands are more corkscrew, more secretion occurs to receive the baby. It is called the secretory phase. And if fertilization takes place, conceptus is present, this is going on to pregnancy up to the pregnant. Initially dependent upon the corpus luteum, later will depend upon the human chorionic gonadotrophin hormone secreted by the trophoblast of the embryo, of the পরে আসছি ওটা। But if doesn't happen, the corpus luteum will atrophy, progesterone level drop, and the uterus will, the stratum compactum and spongiosum will save, next menstruation starts. And from the very next menstruation starts, again another few follicles will going to develop. Again enter into the follicular phase. So 14, after ovulation, this phase we call the luteal phase, because it depends upon the luteal cells. And this time is fixed, 14 days. Ovulation may occur 14 day or 15 day of menstruation, but the last secretory phase or luteal phase, the time is fixed, always 14 days. মনে রাখবে। যাকে এসব দিতে তাহলে আমরা শিখলাম, so it is getting prepared the endometrium. Next কি হচ্ছে? So fertilization zygote takes place. Day 0 বলছি এটাকে আমরা, যেদিন ফার্টিলাইজেশন হলো day 0. Within the Zona Pellucida, within the Zona Pellucida, zygote is present, chromosome number 46 restored, and it starts cleavage. Cleavage means ki repetitive mitotic division of the zygote within the Zona Pellucida. In each division, the cells get smaller and smaller. Usually in mitosis, the more or less normal mitosis, the cells are equal in size, like the mother cell. But here the mother cell gets smaller. ছোট হয়ে যায়। তাহলে ফার্স্ট কি হলো, একটা জাইগোট থেকে ডে 0 তে there is a 2 cell, কখন হলো? Day 1 বা 24 to 36 hours after fertilization. এবার দুটো থেকে প্রথমে 3টে, after 2 there will be 3, then 4 cell. 4 cells, 2 cell, 4 cell stage. Day 3, 8 cell stage. 4টে থেকে 8টা হলো। Day 4, 16 cell stage. 16 cell stage একে আমরা বলি মরুলা। একদম অনেকটা যাও, আরো যেতে থাকো কুইক কুইক কুইক। বাস, না আরো পরে, বাস বাস বাস, আরেকটু পেছনে, একটা পেছনে, হ্যাঁ। সো ultimately 16 cell stage we call morula. Why it is called morula? Next. It is like that, 3-dimensional figure, 16 cell stage. Next, like a mulberry. Morula comes from the word mulberry, a fruit. As it looks like a mulberry, দেখো আগেরটা, আগে back, হ্যাঁ, looks like a fruit mulberry, we call it morula. Next, again division takes place. Next, again division takes place from 16 cell stage to 32 cell stage, ultimately 64 cell stage. Now, special things occur from 32 to 64 cell stage. Initially, the cells are all alike. Kono differentiation chilo na. But after 32 cell stage, morula, the differentiation starts. First class I bolechilam, totipotent, pluripotent, ekhon kintu pluripotent hoye gেল। আগে ছিল all cell can develop to anything, but এখানে fixed হয়ে গেল। Few cells remain inside, changes its shape and characters, we call inner cell mass or embryoblast. These will only form the embryo and the fetus and the human body. And the outer cells, some few cells remain covering of this embryoblast or inner cell mass. These become flattened, we call outer cell layer. They ultimately produce trophoblast. Because tropho means nutrition, it will only give nutrition and form the placenta. They will never give rise to any part, any cell of the embryo. So, differentiation starts, inner cell mass and outer cell mass. Inner cell mass will produce trophoblast, embryo proper, and outer cell mass will ultimately produce placenta. Right? Next, in the 64th cell, and simultaneously, one thing gradually happened. Gradually, this blastocyst morula gradually moves from the ampulla to the isthmus, from the intermedial part, and come to the body of the uterus at about 6th day. 6th day, body of the uterus. In the body of the uterus, normally this is the fundus body, this is the cervix body. They gradually comes here, the blastocyst comes here in the body of the uterus. Now, there occurs some fluid is gradually accumulated. কেমন? আচ্ছা পরে আসছি, তার আগে বলে দিই। আচ্ছা এটা একটু আগেই বলবে, নাহলে হবে না। আচ্ছা, তাহলে এটা গেল। নাও এটা গেল। নাও এই সব জায়গাতে সাম ফ্লুইড ইজ, এটা কোথায় রয়েছে? এইখানে ইউটেরাইন লুমেনে, তাই তো? ক্যাভিটি লুমেনে ব্লাস্ট এই জায়গাটা রয়েছে মরুলা, হুইচ ইজ, এখন এটাকে নাম চেঞ্জ হবে, দ্য নেম উইল বি ব্লাস্টোসিস্ট। সো হোয়াটস হ্যাপেন? The lumen contains secretion. This secretion gradually gets entry to the ball of mass of the morula, going to be blastocyst, and they will be accumulated within this, within the Zona Pellucida. They will gradually accumulated here to form a cavity full of fluid. এই দেখো, pushing the embryoblast in one side. আগে সেন্টারে ছিল, now fluid is accumulating. It is a fluid, a cavity full of fluid, uterine fluid. It pushes this inert mass into one side, and outside there is an outer cell mass which are now called trophoblast, which we call trophoblast, and inner cell mass now onwards we call embryoblast, and the fluid-full cavity we call blastocyst, cell, C-E-L-E, blastocyst, which ultimately give rise to the yolk sac. And now this structure we call blastocyst, and that particular trophoblast, these trophoblast in contact with the embryoblast we call polar trophoblast. We call polar trophoblast, and these trophoblast we call mural trophoblast. Mural trophoblast, right? তাহলে কাকে polar trophoblast বলছি? The trophoblast cells of the trophoblast touching the embryoblast, right? Now what's happened? This Zona Pellucida embryoblast, and this is what is the trophoblast, right? Containing fluid. Now at about 6th day the Zona Pellucida will disappear. That's the most important. একটা বলতে ভুলে গেছি, very important fertilization এর effect এ, as the calcium wave, আমি রিপিট করে যাচ্ছি, not only restore the initiation of the second meiotic division, right? Plus cleavage formation, chromosomal sex determination, another thing it can cause. It cause, not can. What is it? Vitaline block. As the calcium wave occurs, আমি আঁকলাম কিন্তু বলতে ভুলে গেছি, এই যে ওভা ছিল, এখানে কি এঁকেছিলাম? কর্টিক্যাল গ্র্যানিউলস containing lysosomal enzymes, বলেছিলাম, I have told it. And when this touches, the spermatozoa touches, and outside there is a Zona Pellucida. These cortical granules gets released its content in the perivitaline space, which is some enzyme, few enzymes which hydrolyzes, destroyed the ZP3 receptor, যেখানে স্পার্মটা লেগেছিল। অন্য ZP3 receptor তো একটা নয়, there are so many ZP3 receptor in the Zona Pellucida. এবার অন্য স্পার্ম তো এসেছে, একটা নয় দৌড়ে আগে গেছে, পেছনে on the back, just following him, there are other sperms. They also try to occupy the ZP3 receptor so that it can go. Whenever the ZP3 receptor, it attaches, it can go inside the ovum. It should not be happen. So there will be chromosome number will be more. 96, etc. other one. So it is impossible, it will not survive. So that when calcium occurs, these cortisol granules release, which destroy, hydrolyzes the other ZP3 receptor, so that no other sperm can occupy the ZP3 receptor, and it causes block the entry of the other sperm to enter into the ovum. This is called the Vitaline Block, which prevents polyspermy. Poly মানে কি multiple spermatozoa cannot enter. তাহলে এটা একটা কোশ্চেন, why only one sperm is able, not the other sperm? Due to Vitaline Block, which occurs due to lysosomal enzymes released from the cortical granules, which hydrolyzes the other ZP3 receptor. একটাই অ্যাড করেছে, ওই ঢুকেছে। এবার যদি ফেলিওর হয়, more than one sperm can go entry, ছেড়ে দাও। এরপরে কি হলো, এই যে ট্রোফোব্লাস্ট, it secretes some hydrolytic enzymes, right? Trophoblast যেটা বলবো না, এরপর দেখবে ওর একটা দুটো ভাগ হবে। The trophoblast will be divided into two layers, syncyto and cytotrophoblast. Syncytotrophoblast because immense peculiar property, সব সময় ইনভেট করব, ঢুকে যাব and destroy করব, মানে like a guerrilla war, guerrilla army, always goes inside and destroy it. And these trophoblast releases some hydrolytic enzymes which dissolves the vitaline membrane. So at about 6th day of fertilization, post-fertilization, the vitaline membrane, which is Zona Pellucida, will disappear. As long as Zona Pellucida will remain present, it cannot penetrate any wall either of the uterine tube or the uterus. ঢুকতে পারবে না। যেই Zona Pellucida disappear করলো, এই polar trophoblast touches the uterine endometrium, এটা uterine endometrium কে টাচ করে গেল। এতক্ষণ ছিল Zona Pellucida covering নেই, so polar trophoblast touches the uterine endometrium. I already told you trophoblast has got property to invade, ভেতরে ঢুকে গেল, and it gradually enters into the endometrium, slowly and slowly and slowly. It starts about 9th day and gradually completes totally, starts about 6th day and more or less complete by about 9th or 10th day. পুরোটা ঢুকে যায় 9th and 10th day, maximum 12th day. কোথায় ঢুকে যাচ্ছে? এন্ডোমেট্রিয়ামে of the mother. এবার uterus তো big structure, where it usually occurs? Upper part of the body of the uterus. This is called the fundus, this is the body, this is the cervix. In upper part of the body of the fundus of the body, normally this is called implantation. When blastocyst enters the endometrium, product of conceptus enter the endometrium, gradually we call implantation. Implantation usually occur upper part of the body of the uterus, usually in the posterior aspect 55%, and in 45% occurs into the anterior part. If any other region it occurs, it is abnormal. If it is occurs in the cervix, abnormal. If it is occurs in the fallopian tube, abnormal. Sometimes it may, this peculiar, these ova, ova will not go to the fallopian tube. They remain in the abdomen. These secondary ova, secondary oocyte remain in the abdomen. and they fail to reach the fallopian tube, and the spermatozoa comes here rare and fertilize within the abdominal cavity. And whenever it occurs, the subsequent effect goes on. Zygote formation, 2 cell, 3 cell, 4 cell, blastocysts are going on. Maybe stopped early, or it may grow by anchoring it onto any abdominal organ. কোনো abdominal organ এর সাথে লেগে গেল এবং সেখান থেকে draws nutrition, and we call it abdominal pregnancy, dangerous condition. It may grow up to fetus. It is known as the, and total other side, normal থেকে যেটা আদারে হয় তাকে we call it ectopic pregnancy. Ectopic pregnancy. কি usually হতে হয়? Cervix. Commonest ectopic pregnancy কোথায়? Fallopian tube. 95% of the ectopic pregnancy occurs in the fallopian tube. And this is called whenever normally fertility, it is the fertility, যে নর্মাল 1000 ওমেন ইয়ার্সে লিভ বা কতটা লিভ জানা দরকার নেই, ছেড়ে দাও, দেরি হয়ে যায়। সো এইটা হয়ে গেল। সো আমরা কি বললাম? ব্লাস্টোসিস্ট। একটু টাইম আছে, নেক্সট। তাহলে কি হলো দেখছো, আবার রিপিট করছি। দিস ইজ দ্য জোনা পেলুসিডা পেরিভাইটাল স্পেস, দিস ইজ দ্য মরুলা। ফ্লুইড গ্র্যাজুয়ালি, first small, then gradually more and more, ultimately pushes it, and it is the embryoblast, and this is the trophoblast, blastocyst. Suppose this is the uterus. This is the uterus. Come on. Inside of the uterus. This is the body of the uterus, পেছনে cervix রয়েছে। এটা হচ্ছে uterus. This is the lumen, cavity. Right? So this is the anterior wall of the uterus, anatomical position. This is the posterior wall. This is the blastocyst. 55% occurs in the posterior wall and the upper part of the body, and 45% on the anterior wall. Clear?